With age, you stop explaining. You start deciding. It can be as small as a phone call. You see the name on the screen. Maybe it's someone you love. Maybe it's someone who always leaves you feeling a little wrung out. Years ago, you might have answered out of habit, out of guilt, out of fear that saying "not now" would turn into a whole thing. But now, you watch it ring. You let it ring. Then you set the phone down and go back to your tea. No anger, no speech, just choice. That's what getting older gives you, if you let it. A quieter nervous system, a shorter fuse for nonsense, a deeper respect for the life you have left. Tonight's letter is about choosing calm over conflict and letting boundaries speak for you. Because there comes a point where peace stops feeling like a nice idea and starts feeling like something you have to protect. Not because you're fragile, because you're finally honest about what drains you. You've been through enough to know how a bad conversation can hijack an entire day, how one sharp remark can sit in your chest all night, how some people don't just call, they bring a storm with them. And maybe you've noticed this about yourself lately. You're harder to reach. You don't stay on the phone as long. You don't argue the way you used to. You don't attend every gathering. You don't explain your choices to people who only want to negotiate them. Some will call that cold. I don't. I call it breathing. Peace is not a luxury. It's your foundation. And if you've spent most of your life being the one who keeps the peace for everyone else, smoothing things over, swallowing your words, staying nice so nobody gets upset, then this season can feel like a small revolution. Not loud, not dramatic, just you, finally choosing what keeps you steady. In the next part, I want to talk about why you stop arguing with age, why explaining less isn't giving up, and how it can actually be the beginning of a calmer life. When you're younger, you believe in the power of explaining. You think if you can just find the right words, say it clearly, say it kindly, say it one more time, people will understand you, and sometimes they do. But with age, you start noticing a hard truth. A lot of arguments aren't misunderstandings. They're patterns. You'll be halfway through a sentence and realize they aren't listening to learn. They're listening to respond. They're waiting for their turn to talk so they can pull the conversation back to where it always goes. And that's when something in you changes. Not because you don't care, because you care about your peace more than you care about winning. I used to think if I stayed calm enough, patient enough, reasonable enough, I could talk people into being fair. But some people aren't looking for fairness. They're looking for control or attention. Or the familiar rush of conflict that makes them feel powerful for 5 minutes. And you don't want to donate your time to that anymore. With age, you feel the cost of a fight more clearly. It's not just the 10 minutes of raised voices. It's the way it follows you into the kitchen, into the car, into your sleep. It's the replaying, the second-guessing, the tightness in your shoulders the next morning when you're trying to drink your coffee and your mind is still stuck in the same loop. That's why older people often look calmer. It's not that they don't have opinions. It's that they've learned what an argument can steal. I remember a family gathering years ago, nothing unusual. A table full of food, familiar faces, the kind of day that can turn sharp without warning. Someone brought up politics. Someone always does. And there was a time in my life when I would have leaned in. I would have done the whole thing. Facts, stories, tone rising, trying to win some moral victory. Because it mattered to be right. But that day, I felt something different. I felt how tired it would make me. So I stood up, picked up my plate, and walked outside for a minute. The air was cool. The yard was quiet. You could hear distant traffic, a dog barking, somebody laughing inside, and I thought, I'm not doing this today. Not because I don't care about the world, because I care about my week. Winning an argument isn't worth losing my week. That's the kind of math you start doing with age. You measure things by what they cost you afterward. And once you start measuring like that, a lot of conflict stops looking worth it. You also start noticing something else. Some people don't want a conversation. They want a courtroom. They want you to present your case.
They want you to justify your feelings.
They want you to plead your right to be treated well. And at a certain age, you get tired of standing trial for your own life. I don't raise my voice anymore. I raise my standards. That doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you speak up once, clearly, and then you watch what happens. Because if someone truly respects you, they don't need a 30-minute debate to do the decent thing. And if they don't respect you, no amount of explaining will create it. So you argue less. You explain less. You stop trying to drag people into understanding, and you start choosing what keeps you steady. In the next part, I want to talk about the difference between boundaries and walls, because protecting your peace doesn't mean shutting out love. It means giving love a clean, healthy shape. When people hear the word boundaries, they sometimes picture something cold. A person who's shut down. A person who's bitter. A person who keeps everyone at arm's length. But that's not a boundary. That's a wall. A boundary is different. A boundary is what makes love possible without resentment. It's a door with a lock, not a brick wall. It says, you can come in, but not like that. It says, I care about you, and I also care about myself. It says, we can be close if we can be kind. That's why boundaries don't have to be harsh to be real. A calm no is still a full sentence. You don't need to make it dramatic. You don't need to write a speech. You don't need to list your reasons like you're applying for permission.
Sometimes you just say, I can't today, or that doesn't work for me,
or even, I'm not available for that conversation. And then you let the silence do what it does. A lot of us struggle with this because we were trained to over-explain, especially if you grew up in a family where peace meant keeping everyone happy, where you learned to anticipate moods, smooth things over, be the reasonable one. So when you start setting boundaries, your body reacts like you've done something wrong. You feel guilty, even when you were kind. You feel nervous, even when you were fair. That doesn't mean the boundary is wrong. It means the old habit is loud. And here's a line I wish more people understood. Kindness without limits becomes resentment. You can be generous for years and still end up angry because you kept saying yes when your whole body was begging for no. That's not kindness.
That's self-abandonment. Boundaries are the opposite of that.
Boundaries are how you stay soft without becoming a doormat. I think about something simple, letting a call go to voicemail. Some people treat that like an insult, but sometimes it's just wisdom. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're eating dinner. Maybe you know that if you answer right now, you'll be pulled into a conversation you don't have the strength for. So you let it ring. Then you call back later when you can show up with patience instead of irritation. That's a boundary. It doesn't punish anyone. It protects what's good in you. Because the goal isn't to shut people out. The goal is to stay well enough to love the people you choose to keep. And with age, you start realizing, love without boundaries doesn't stay sweet. It turns into obligation. It turns into dread when the phone rings. It turns into a tight chest before family gatherings. And that's not how love is supposed to feel. A boundary is simply the shape of what you can offer. It's your way of saying, I want to do this right. And in the next part, I want to talk about a shift that makes boundaries easier as you get older. The moment you stop trying to convince people and you let your choices do the talking. One of the biggest changes that comes with age is this. You stop trying to win people over. You stop building your life like it's a committee decision. You stop treating your choices like they need to be approved. Because at some point you realize most explaining isn't for clarity, it's for comfort. It's you trying to make sure they're not upset. It's you trying to make sure they still like you. It's you trying to soften the fact that you said no. But no is not a crime. And with age, you start seeing how much energy you wasted presenting your case to people who were never going to be satisfied anyway. Some people don't want your reasons. They want your access. They want you to remain available, flexible, agreeable, because it makes their life easier. So when you set a boundary, they don't ask, "Are you okay?" They ask, "Why are you doing this to me?" That's when you learn a quiet truth. You don't have to convince people who benefit from your exhaustion. You don't have to stand there and explain your nervous system. You don't have to justify why you want a calmer life. Your choices are your message. If you stop answering late-night calls, that's a message. If you leave earlier, that's a message. If you don't attend every gathering, that's a message. And it doesn't have to be hostile. It can be gentle. I think of a simple invitation. Someone wants you to come over, stay late, be part of a whole evening. Years ago, you might have said yes, and then spent the day dreading it. Or you might have said no, but with a paragraph of reasons to make it sound respectable. Now you might say, "Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to pass tonight." And you stop there. No courtroom, no defense attorney, just a calm decision. My life isn't a committee decision. That line can feel almost shocking the first time you let it be true, because we were raised on the idea that good people are accommodating, good people are available, good people don't disappoint anyone. But here's what age teaches you. If you try not to disappoint anyone, you end up disappointing yourself. And that disappointment sits in your body. It turns into tension. It turns into fatigue. It turns into that quiet irritation you can't explain because you've been nice for so long. Letting boundaries speak for you is how you interrupt that. It's how you stop rehearsing speeches in your head. It's how you stop carrying imaginary conversations around like heavy bags. You don't need a perfect sentence. You need a steady life. I don't need a courtroom. I need a quiet house. And once you begin living that way, people adjust. The people who love you will learn your shape. They'll learn that you're still kind, just not endlessly available. Still generous, just not at your own expense. Still loving, just not willing to be dragged into chaos. And the ones who don't adjust? That tells you something too. In the next part, I want to make this very practical in the best way, not as tips, but as real scenes.
what protecting your peace looks like after 60, in ordinary days where you choose calm again and again without making it a fight.
Protecting your peace once you're older usually doesn't look like a dramatic confrontation. It looks like small decisions made early, before things get sharp. It looks like noticing the moment a conversation starts to tilt and choosing not to ride it down the hill. You're at a gathering and someone begins doing what they always do, testing you, teasing you, pushing for a reaction. There was a time you would have stayed in it. You would have tried to prove your point. You would have tried to earn respect by staying in the ring. Now you can feel your body sending you a signal. Your jaw tightens. Your chest gets a little hot. Your mind starts preparing a speech. And instead of giving them the speech, you excuse yourself. You go refill your drink. You step outside for a minute. You help in the kitchen. You don't do it to be passive-aggressive. You do it to stay kind. I leave early so I can stay kind. That's what peace protection looks like. It looks like turning off the news earlier, not because you don't care about the world, because you've learned what constant outrage does to your heart. You still stay informed, but you don't let the loudest voices in the country live inside your living room all day long. You choose quiet on purpose. It looks like choosing one good friend over a draining group. When you're younger, you can tolerate a room full of people you don't truly trust. You can laugh through it. You can perform. With age, you stop wanting to perform. You'd rather have one conversation where you can exhale than 10 conversations where you're bracing. So you keep your circle smaller, not as a punishment, as a form of care. It looks like visiting family in shorter, kinder windows. There's a wisdom in leaving while things are still sweet. You don't stay until everyone is tired and sharp and hungry and picking at each other. You arrive with warmth. You enjoy what's good. And you go home before peace turns into endurance. That's not distance. That's maturity. It looks like taking the long way home sometimes, a slower drive, a different route. Not because you're lost, because you're giving your nervous system time to settle. You notice the late afternoon light on the trees. You watch the neighborhood kids ride bikes. You let your mind come back down to earth before you walk through your own front door. It looks like simple routines that hold you steady. Tea in the same mug, a walk at the same time, a few quiet pages of a book, hands in the garden dirt. Not exciting, but calming. And at this age, calm is worth more than exciting. I protect my peace the way I protect my sleep. Because sleep is not negotiable, and neither is the kind of peace that lets you sleep. I've seen this with grandkids too. A visit can be beautiful, laughing, playing, little hands in yours, until the moment you feel the edge of tiredness. It's tempting to push through, to keep going so nobody feels disappointed, but there's a sweetness in ending the visit before the exhaustion arrives. You hug them while you still have patience, you wave goodbye while your heart is still full, and you keep the memory clean. That's peace protection too. It's not about being strict, it's about being wise. It's about choosing the version of yourself you like best, the steady one, the kind one, the one who isn't running on fumes. And yes, people will notice. Some will appreciate it, some will test it. In the next part, I want to talk about what happens when people don't like your boundaries. When they accuse you of changing, getting distant, getting difficult. And why that pushback doesn't mean you're wrong. Here's the part nobody really prepares you for. When you start protecting your peace, Some people will act like you committed a crime. They'll say you're different. They'll say you've changed. They'll say, "You used to be so easygoing," in a tone that makes it sound like a compliment and an accusation at the same time. And sometimes, if you're honest, you'll feel that old reflex rise up. The guilt. The urge to explain yourself, to soften it, to make them comfortable again. But the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will complain when you start having them. They don't miss you. They miss your access. They miss the version of you that answered every call, stayed late, smiled through disrespect, absorbed the stress so the room could stay pleasant. So when you stop doing that, they feel it. And instead of asking, "Are you okay?" they ask, "What's wrong with you?" That's when you need one steady thought. Disappointment is not an emergency. Someone being unhappy with your boundary doesn't mean you have to remove it. It doesn't mean you did something cruel. It doesn't mean you need to fix their feelings. Sometimes people are disappointed simply because they didn't get what they expected to get from you. And with age, you learn to let that disappointment exist without rushing to rescue it. I remember a relative saying to me once, "You've changed." And for a second, I felt that old panic, like I needed to defend myself. But then I thought, yes, I have. I've changed in the direction of peace. I've changed in the direction of honesty. I've changed in the direction of a life that doesn't leave me drained for days. And if someone doesn't like that, it doesn't mean I did something wrong. It means the old version of me was more convenient. Boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first because they interrupt the old arrangement. If you were always the one who gave in, people got used to that. So when you stop giving in, the room shifts. They might push, they might pout, they might test you. And this is where age can be your ally, because age gives you a quieter kind of strength. You don't have the appetite you used to have for drama. You don't have the energy you used to have for negotiating basic respect. So you hold your boundary without making it a war. You repeat yourself less. You explain yourself less. You simply live your decision. And over time, two things happen. The people who love you learn your shape, and they adjust. They stop taking it personally. They start taking you seriously. And the people who only wanted access, they drift. That can hurt, even when it's necessary. But it also makes your life cleaner. Not lonely, cleaner. Because you stop spending your days recovering from people who don't handle you with care. And that is a form of kindness too. In the closing, I want to leave you with a calm reminder, something to hold on to the next time you feel tempted to apologize for protecting your peace. Here's what I want to leave you with tonight. With age, peace becomes non-negotiable. And that's how you keep your heart soft. People misunderstand that. They think boundaries make you hard, but boundaries are often what keep you tender. Because when you're not constantly defending yourself, when you're not constantly explaining, when you're not constantly recovering from the same old conflict, you have more patience left for what actually matters. You have more warmth left for your grandkids, your friends, your partner, your neighbors. You have more room inside you for laughter, for quiet mornings, for ordinary kindness. Protecting your peace isn't you giving up on people. It's you giving up on chaos. It's you choosing a life that doesn't cost you your nervous system. And if someone calls that selfish, remember this: you can be kind
without being available.
You can love people without letting them drain you. You can wish them well and still keep your distance. Your boundaries are not a debate. They are the shape of the life you can live with. If this letter felt familiar, you're welcome here. And if you'd like, tell me in the comments, what's one thing you've stopped tolerating as you've gotten older? Take what helps, leave the rest.